Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video, and I have been having an absolute blast with this. I really just can't get enough of it. It is the Necro Lord Balance Druid, particularly coupled up with the Affliction Warlock, plus a healer. There's going to be different strengths and weaknesses depending on what healer you are running with. Been enjoying my time, though, with Shaman and Paladin, and they both bring their advantages, and I'm just going to be running you through some gameplay of this and what is it that makes it so much fun, so that you should check it out. I've been getting a lot of people popping over into my stream, which will be linked in the description down below, telling me how they've been re-rolling Moonkin and been having a blast with it. So the main goal as this build is to keep your dots up. We've got full dots on the Shaman, the Death Knight, and the Demon Hunter. We want to send out our Adaptive Swarm. We're sending that onto the Resto Shaman, activate our Eclipse, bash a target, dump our Star Surges, and try and do as much damage in this small window of time. And you can see that the main goal of the person being attacked is to run away, drag enemies out into the middle. We want to snipe Healing Tide as soon as possible to remove that area of effect healing. We want to limit that as much as possible. I started running Fairy Swarm into these melee attackers because with Unstable Affliction on the target, the healer has to run the risk of dispelling that on top of the disarm effect. So this can be really effective against Death Knights to remove their ability to Death Strike, and a strategy you definitely want to check out if Thorns isn't working. But you can see that the pressure that's building up onto the Demon Hunter, holding him at half HP, whittling down the Shaman at the pillar, rotting down the Death Knight. This is a type of playstyle that has been missing from the game for a very long time. I want to say years. It's mostly just been about stun and one shot, and I've become very numb and bored of that strategy. So this strategy is kind of like a nice breath of fresh air in terms of playstyle and options, where you're just kind of kiting, avoiding, disrupting, and slowly building up your advantage. We can see cycloning the Death Knight low HP, preventing their damage with A-Bomb Limb, stunning the healers when you catch them out in the open, then cycloning them, blasting them low, switching back and keeping dots up on the Demon Hunter. The only thing I could maybe do better in this position is look for more entangling roots opportunities, activating our Starfall, getting our Adaptive Swarms rolling onto as many targets as possible, so that we're just spreading our enhancements of dots, keeping our pressure up across the board, and really just keeping our opponents guessing, like, where are we going to go next, who's going to be the main focus target. Trying to maintain your Moonkin aura with your Star Surge maintenance while still maintaining good Starfall uptime is really a nice kind of like juggling that you're going to have to do throughout the fight. Now in this position, we've baited the Shaman to run out midfield so we can lob out some casted spells, capping them before they can get to their defensive cooldowns. We can utilize Typhoon as well to knock our attackers away, use our Solar Beam to interrupt cast to prevent them from recovering, and still kind of just focus on protecting our Warlock. Activate Lunar Eclipse, Starfall time, get our Adaptive Swarm out, get a little bit of a dismantle going here onto the Death Knight, stop them from healing up as much as possible, snipe those Healing Tide totems instantly, really important to remove AoE healing effects, as I've already pointed out. Keep your Adaptive Swarms rolling as much as possible because they have a chance to duplicate and to spread to multiple targets, so you do want to be making sure you're pressing that on cooldown. Cyclone enemies when they've stunned your healer, stopping them from attacking. So I've cycloned the Demon Hunter, switched it to the Death Knight after the Demon Hunter trinketed, and I've really mitigated a lot of damage while still focusing on keeping up my dots and keeping up my momentum. Now here I've got full Astral Power, time to bash somebody, and started lobbing some Star Surges. I also had my Bonesmith proc there, which was giving me extra crit, so lining up your Starfall or Star Surges with that crit buff can really amplify your burst damage when you're able to use them in tandem. Here now we've got all the enemies attacked. We're still just running laps, trying to focus on defense. The one thing with this comp is that you don't want to get overconfident. You don't want to stop focusing on your defense, because if you think like, oh, we're winning at this point, let's just play to win and stand still, you're going to usually end up regretting it. You really need to focus on avoidance, the Miyagi-Do playstyle of defense, and constantly block attacks until the enemy team just ends up falling over to a crippling amount of AoE damage. That would be my main point of advice if you are going to try and run with this build, is just always avoid the enemy attackers. Here I've got Adaptive Swarm onto the Death Knight, full dots onto the Demon Hunter at the pillar, the Shaman at the pillar, free casting on whoever comes in my line of sight, getting out another Adaptive Swarm. Here our healer is CC'd, our Warlock is stunned, so I want to help out. I'm going to incap the Death Knight, incap the Shaman, try and slow their progression towards my Warlock, use my Wild Charge and Bear Form into a bash, preventing the Death Knight from moving any more forward, into a Fairy Swarm, just slowing them, preventing them from getting back to their target with their cooldown. Now we can pop our Celestial Alignment, they're out in the open. We can Solar Beam their Anti-Magic Zone to prevent their recovery and just free cast into it. Who cares? We've got our Bonesmith proc lined up with our Incarn. Look at the devastation, even through Anti-Magic Zone. 3 players down down to half. Shaman has to pop Ascendance. Like, we are absolutely ransacking them at this point. Death Knight's getting blasted. I really can't believe he didn't die at that point. Death Strike's a really powerful ability. If we had our disarm there, we might have been able to take him out. Here we're going to cycle in the Death Knight, prevent them from getting back to our Warlock, get dots back up into the Shaman while the Death Knight's out of commission. Disarm the Death Knight as they come out of the Cyclone, keep our momentum going as much as possible. Adaptive Swarm on cooldown. We can stampede our allies to get them sprinted. Cyclone the Demon Hunter, try and get some distance here. Our Warlock's really working with limited options in defense, so we're Cyclone in rooting a lot more than normal because we don't have an Earthen Wall, we don't have an Unending Resolve. When you don't have defensive cooldowns, you need to focus more on crowd control. And that's why you see me rooting the Demon Hunter, wild charging in, bashing the Demon Hunter, focusing on keeping them away from my Warlock as much as possible until our defensives come up, which now we do have them. We've got Earthen Wall and Unending Resolve. We've stalled, so now it's time to focus on damage again. Keep our Adaptive Swarms rolling, get towards Eclipse so we can activate our Starfall. I always try to be one spell away from Eclipse, and we can see that the Shaman is finally out of mana. Still cycling the Demon Hunter, still focusing on defense. Activate our Eclipse. Starfall is rolling. Shaman's out in the open. We could Star Surge whoever we want at this point. We're going after the Demon Hunter. They're not in Metamorphosis. Way easier to kill a Demon Hunter when they're not in Metamorphosis. We get Darkness. We get Spirit Link Totem, and this is where things start to unravel if you're able to keep a level head, keep your focus on defense, and avoid the enemy attackers. Our Shaman gates, we can knock them away on their pursuit and really delay their reconnection. Just hold them arm's length away, like that meme with the big brother, the little brother, holding him and not letting him punch you. He's trying to swing, he's trying to hit you. Just keep holding him at a distance away from yourself until you're able to overwhelm your attackers. Here we trade Astral Shift for the Abomination's Limb of the Death Knight, and we're able to stay alive. We cycle on the Demon Hunter during their powerful cooldowns. We bash the Death Knight. He trinkets into a disarm, chaining our crowd control, preventing them from getting uptime, and eventually overwhelming them to the point where they're going to be triple killed, I believe, in just a moment from now, keeping our full dots on every target that we can. We trinket out a stun at this point, knock the enemy attackers, and boom, one kill. Seconds later, another kill. If he did another walk, this was basically an easy triple kill. And this composition has been really effective. We've been taking on teams that were at the top of the ladder, and I'm going to try and find that game here. We had a 13-minute game, I think, against a team that is at the top of the ladder, which was absolutely insane. We were bouncing up and down on the Z-axis of Mugambala, trying to knock down our enemy attackers, trying to keep them at a distance. This game, we were pressured a lot more than our Warlock, so it's kind of the same deal. Your Warlock wants to fear and assist you when you're the target, and you're going to run away with Wild Charge, try and get in Bear Farm and use Frenzied Regeneration to recover the same way your Warlock would use their Drain Life. So I would suggest that if the Warlock is left free, that you use Fear instead of Cyclone. Although Cyclone is a more powerful crowd control, it's going to be more difficult to actually land, and your goal is, when you're the target, is to keep the enemies at a distance, let your Warlock do most of the lifting, keep our Starfalls going for these Starbursts, try and pick up the bombs when we can so we can run them into their targets. And I think this game ended up being a lot longer than this, so I'm kind of like skipping a little bit ahead here, but you can see once you get into that dampening point, enemies are running out of mana. They're starting to clump up. They're going to get AoE'd for AoE Soul Rots. You're going to have a lot easier of a time kind of really devastating your opponents. Here is Incarnation from the enemy Boomkin, so we need to be in Bear Farm. We've got Defensive Adaptive Swarm, and Frenzied Regen gets buffed by that, and we need to focus on staying alive until that window's over, or using a Spirit Link Totem. We're going to jump away from the Demon Hunter, jump away from the Balanced Druid. I don't want to stack up on that cleave anymore during their most powerful cooldowns. We've got our Celestial Alignment coming up, so we're going to be able to amp up, and the main goal is to just compromise the positioning of your opponents and have whoever is the most durable standing on top of them. So right now our Warlock has Unending Resolve. They have a portal. They're going to be the hardest target to kill for our team. So we're kind of sending the Warlock at them, baiting them to attack the Warlock, because if they send a stun and damage, our Warlock's going to trade really effectively, and then I can safely run in and then start spamming out some damage as well. So this is going to be the main focus that you're going to want. Here they drop Metamorphosis. We drop Spirit Link Totem to trade for this. We can cycle on the Metamorphosis. Again, trying to kill a Demon Hunter with that is not really going to work. Shaman almost dies to dots here. We push up onto the pillar with Celestial Alignment. We lock Cyclone so we can keep our damage rolling as much as possible. Keep Starfall up at this time. All of our crowd control going into the Boomkin to stop them from using Cyclone as much as possible here, because the Shaman's out of mana and can't heal, so we want to disrupt the hybrid utility more than that. And this is where you got this tough decision of like, do you try and push for the win? Shaman's out of mana, or should you focus on defense? And I think the option is almost always focus on defense. We get a triple Shadow Fury. We can Defensive Adaptive Swarm. Frenzied Regen gets buffed by this. Fleshcraft. craft, soak up some damage, let the warlock, let the person who isn't being attacked do the work. Like, look at the damage Maldiva is getting out at this point. If I can just tank and stay alive, just poke out a couple of instant casts if I can, keep my distance, and have them overextend on me is going to be better than me running on top of them and kind of like throwing the game and feeding at that point. So you got to be really careful depending on who is the target. Your positioning is the most important, and you want to enable your partners to kind of like carry the game. But now we have no unending resolve on the warlock. We also have no defensive cooldowns. It's kind of a tough position. They're running away. Best option you can do here is drink, and this will either reset your mana or force the enemy to engage in a bad position. So you've got literally a little bit of a checkmate position. They go after our warlock. Our warlock has a shield to trade here. We run up to the balance druid to bash, getting them out of the game. We're going to chase the shaman around to stop them from drinking, let our warlock get some momentum on the demon hunter, let them get momentum on the balance druid, and now we've got the enemy separated. We've got nether walk force from the demon hunter as he's just trying to march to reconnect to his target. We can run laps away. We're going to cycle around because we still don't want the shaman to drink. So we're just going to poke onto him, keep our maximum dots up, adaptive swarm on cooldown similar to the last game. Just keep at a distance, poke them down, slowly whittle them until you get to a position where you can then finally overwhelm them. Here they go for a stun lock. They're in metamorphosis. Scary moment of the game for us to survive. So we're going to end cap. We're going to run off the side, try and juke them. I think I failed the jump here. That jump can be really effective against melee attackers. I think he ended up actually getting upstairs anyways, assuming that I wouldn't fail that jump. But that juke can be really effective for Z-axis. Your warlock using portal as well. Really want to exploit that as much as possible. And our main goal is to just eventually get one of the enemies out of position. Here we're going to bear charge, keeping the demon hunter rooted, interrupt their flesh craft because the shaman is drinking. We don't want the demon hunter getting as much support as possible. We end up getting into a weird position because we wanted to come back to assist the warlock. It's really important to stop drinks. You don't want to overextend and die to stop a drink, but in this position we should have definitely stopped this. Our celestial alignment's coming up in 30 seconds, so we just got to stay alive a little bit longer. We just got darkness from them. We're waiting for the bash diminishing return. We're going to start poking a little bit more forward. Triple Howl of Terror. Keep our moonkin aura going here as we've got some time to stack it up for free. This is going to give the 12% crit buff to our whole team. Really good to have that rolling. Grounding totem. We get spawning in star bombs. We want to be running in these bombs whenever we can to try and knock up our opponents, but we need to be careful. Our healer is crowd controlled. Go into bear form, Hellstone, frenzied regen, adaptive swarm, survive the crowd control, stun the DPS, stop them from attacking, cyclone their trinket, stay alive. Still again, don't overextend. Focus on staying alive. Focus on defense. And now it's like time to strike. We just survived. Pop our celestial alignment. We get every cooldown from the shaman. We get the boomkin rotted low. We can trade spirit link totem, and we can start kind of just like pounding away and try and close out this game. But even still, they're not dying, so we're going to pull out. We're going to avoid the attack, kind of stay down below, let our warlock again soak some damage because they can drain life, they can absorb damage, they have unending resolve, they have dark pact at the moment, so let some of that damage go into the shields rather than into me, who's going to be a target that can die at this point. Bait them out into the open, pick up star bombs as you see them, activate our eclipse on the earth ellie. I'm targeting down the earth ellie because I want our shaman to drink and I don't want this pet to overextend and stop our drink. That can also be effective on our side to shoot the Earth Ellie at the enemy healer to stop them. Here we get stunned. We want a Barkskin when we're stunned. Earthen Wall Totem's really effective also when a target is stunned. Bear Form, Frenzied Regen. We trinket out of Solar Beam. We can knock them away. And now we've got them in a good spot. They're out in the open middle of the map. So we're going to stun the Shaman, kill the Healing Tide Totem, remove that AoE healing, still a really important component. And we're going to start kiting upstairs while our Warlock can free cast and kind of just like run a little bit of a loop around and try and bait them out in the open as much as possible, dragging them up top, dragging them back out into the open, and kind of just keep running laps around the map. Root the Demon Hunter, keep them at bay, keep them at a distance, try and keep our dots rolling, get to that point in dampening where we can finally overwhelm them. And here I think the Shaman gets blasted down a bit, and then we go after the Demon Hunter when the Shaman runs away. Boomkin wants to help, and we can swap. Here they're attacking our Shaman. Better safe than sorry just to use Astral Shift here. It's not Celestial Alignment, it's not Metamorphosis, but we're literally like 18 minutes into this game, it feels like. Dampening is too high. We can blast down the Shaman. Boomy makes a mistake here by jumping down out into the open. By jumping down out of the open, his teammates cannot get to him. We are able to finally finish him off, and that's just about finding that opportunity, finding that moment to exploit. I think this is the highest rated team on the ladder, or one of the highest rated teams on the ladder. Finding a moment to exploit that, and then execute for the win later on. That's going to be the main objective and strategy of this composition. At lower ratings, when you get a Dark Soul Incarn, you're probably just going to run people over and triple kill them, so it's going to be really effective. But as you start pushing higher and higher and higher, your focus on defense is going to have to be there as well. Other than that, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope it was fun, entertaining, and maybe going to get you engaged in a little bit of Moonkin action. Other than that, thank you for watching the video, and I will catch you in the next one.